You are about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
We are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So never throw out those pennies. I was doing some spring cleaning, even though it's not the spring yet, and I found a penny. I picked it up, hoped that all day long I would have good luck, and I kept it because it's a penny. I don't throw out money. It's just something I just was raised not to do. Especially now that pennies are not being minted anymore. And in fact, some pennies that we have that might be out in circulation may be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars later. Won't happen too soon, but there have already been auctions of the last pennies minted. The pennies, as you know, were discontinued in November because 1-cent coins cost over 3 cents each to make. And Trump's like, why are we spending this kind of money? I agree. I mean, I'm a little nostalgic, seeing pennies not get, minted. But, if you're saving that much money, I don't blame you. And apparently, the last of the pennies were auctioned off for $16.76 million. The sale marked the highest value auction of special coins sold on behalf of the mint. This according to a press release by auction company Stack's Bowers Galleries. There were several sets of 232 three-coin sets. Each featured a 2025 or 2025-D penny that was made at the Denver Mint, a 2025 penny, and a historic 2025 penny that was made in 24-karat gold from the Philadelphia Mint. And I guess people could buy this set of three. Each of the iconic coins bears the mark of the final Greek letter omega, denoting their role as the capstone to a 2 centuries-long legacy that began in 1793 with the chain cent. This is being reported by New York Post. And they said during the auction, which entailed 4 hours of competitive bidding, 4 hours, they said each set averaged 72 grand, while 17 lots sold for more than 100,000. And the final set number 232, fetched a whopping 800 grand. So, wow. So they say, if you want to make money on your penny, you might want to inspect your change jar. They said there are 3 tests people could use to see if the penny is worth more than a cent. One is to see if it has the omega symbol. To tell if your penny is of the omega class of 2025, examine one of the pennies from that year and check behind Lincoln's shoulder for a tiny omega symbol. Then there's the S. Look for a penny with an S, denoting it was created at the San Francisco Mint. While not all are rare, they are much more likely to be valuable key dates, such as 1931. In 2021, one of these 1931 S pennies sold for $18,600. Then there's a magnet test to see if your penny could be worth something. They say grab a refrigerator magnet and place a 1943 penny on it. If the penny sticks, it's common steel. If not, and it could be worth about 10 cents. If not, it's copper and could be potentially worth up to 100 grand. Conversely, if a 1944 penny adheres to the magnet, it's a rare steel error that could be worth several times that. In 2021, one of these 1944 steel wheat pennies sold for $408,000. This is just, wow. I mean, I have pennies and many of them, are as old as the 70s and 80s. Every now and then I find like a 1920s penny. Those are really cool because they seem to have like these leaves on the back. It says 1 cent. It's interesting. I want to study how they made money and how they designed these coins and why they decided to change. And, anyway. So, being that minted pennies cost about 3 cents per penny to make, President Trump said, it's wasteful. I've instructed my Secretary of the U.S. Treasury to stop producing new pennies. I think that's a good move. But to think that you could have something that could be worth so much, wow. So look for the little omega sign. Look for the e pluribus unum, I think, is on most of them. So I don't know. I'm not a big coin collector, but it was interesting. I remember when I was a little kid, my mom had these little cardboard, little square things with a clear circle in the middle. And if there was a penny from the, World War II era or a coin, she would put it in that to save and hold, saying it could be worth something later. Now, I don't know where those are. I don't know if a 1944 penny now is still worth that, but if it was made, if there was something special to it. Also, we do have dollar bills that were misprinted. And so remember, every now and then we hear that some of us have dollar bills that could be worth millions because it came from a misprint. I don't have a lot of singles. Remember, I live in Vegas. So, yeah, anytime somebody gives me change, there's like no singles. All right. They just give me, because everybody's keeping their singles to use. I don't know. So I don't really have a lot of singles. But I think it's fascinating. Just, keep your ears out for this type of stuff. I know a lot of people were upset that Trump stopped the printing of the penny. I think we are of the era now where if we're doing something that doesn't make sense and that it costs more to do, to not do, or to rethink it. I mean, look at how this younger generation is looking at $75,000 weddings as being ridiculous and say, look, why don't we, tone it down, get married, do what we need to celebrate, but not go broke. Why do we have to go broke for a wedding? Now, why do we have to go broke to get a college degree that we can't use? So I really kind of like the idea that we're being a little bit more practical with things. But yeah, check out your pennies. 1-877-Doc-Dolly. Don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping, addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So when you think of dementia, and you think of a family member who had dementia, or Alzheimer's, or multi-infarct dementia, vascular dementia, Parkinson's, you think to yourself, gosh, that could be me. It's going to happen. I'm screwed. And apparently many researchers are saying, no, you're not screwed because, one, we do have treatments, but also we could prevent dementia. And world-leading experts have unveiled a definitive roadmap you could take to help beat getting dementia. According to Daily Mail, a major new consensus report, scientists set out 56 evidence-based recommendations aimed at slashing your dementia risk. We've mentioned these on the show many times, but it's nice that they brought up 56 of them. Right? These include tackling hearing loss and getting hearing aids so you don't get socially isolated and quit talking to people because they keep saying, huh, or you keep saying, huh, what? Reduce your high blood pressure. Quit being isolated socially. Get out there. Talk to other people. And they think that if we improve public health messaging, addressing environmental stressors, we could prevent this. The panel is now calling on, I believe, the UK government to urgently reassess its approach to dementia care. We should do this in America as well. If we don't have a coordinated national strategy, we're going to have millions and millions of more cases. Now, again, this is a call for those in the UK. I think US should listen also. Dr. Harriet Demnitz-King, the study's lead author from Queen Mary University of London, said the science on dementia prevention is already clear, but has yet to be translated into meaningful policy. She says, we know dementia risk can be reduced, but the evidence has not yet been transformed into a coherent governmental strategy. Well, RFK Jr. is already working on it by recommending single ingredient foods, by trying to get additives and crap out of our food and making sure we eat healthy. I mean, I think we're already starting to do some of that. And then if Trump's great healthcare plan does start to limit the cost of prescription drugs so people can pay for their blood pressure medication, cholesterol medication, and not have to pay more than other countries. So that's a part of it. We are working. But yeah, it would be nice to see that type of message. So the review builds on findings from the 2024 Lancet Commission, which identified 14 modifiable risk factors for dementia and concluded that almost half of all Alzheimer's cases could be prevented. So cholesterol, keeping your cholesterol down, treating your hearing and vision loss, physical inactivity, getting more active, social isolation, reversing that, long-term exposure to air pollution. Authors are saying we're not tackling these seriously enough. Now, they published their findings in the journal Nature's Review Neurology, and the researcher said in the absence of a cure or wide access to effective treatments, prevention is key to addressing the impact of dementia. Professor Charles Marshall, study co-author, said urgent action was needed. Why? Well, in the UK, it's the leading cause of death. Now, heart disease is, I think, the leading cause of death still in America, but dementia is closely behind. So what are the things that we could do? And, well, what are signs? What are signs of dementia? Well, let's look at Alzheimer's. You may forget recent conversations or events. When your spouse says, I told you that, we just talked about that. Now, sometimes my husband does that and I don't remember. Or I think he's like BSing me. No, remember I told you I spent this much money, on this. And no, I don't remember you telling me that. But, if you want to gaslight me, that's fine. We start to lose our belongings. We lose our keys, lose our wallet. We struggle to think of the right word. We forget names of places and objects. We ask questions repetitively. We become less flexible and more hesitant to try new things. That's me now. I mean, I'm really nervous about this. I have family who had multi-infarct dementia. Now, thank God I don't have diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, but I really, really worry if there is a genetic propensity towards Alzheimer's or something. And it's interesting because when they look at dementia hotspots, in England, they show where there's areas, and many of them appear to be in areas that, may have a lot of pollution. However, keep in mind, you're going to have higher population in these metropolis cities that will then have more pollution. So you'll have more numbers. So they have to be kind of careful. When you show a map going, well, this is where we see more dementia. Well, yeah, is it because you have more people there? But social isolation is a biggie. And one thing I'm noticing as I get older is I'm not as extroverted as I used to be. Now, that's not because I have dementia, thank God. It's because once you've been hurt by people, right? Once you see that people are using you, you become less. I would be friends with everybody. I would date whoever. When you get older, you start getting a little picky. And I'm starting to get a little pickier about who I spend time with. And I'm also embracing sleep a little more. Dahlia, let's do a bar crawl. Probably not. I really don't want to be crawling tonight. And I don't want to spend that much money going to multiple bars. And I don't want to drink that much. And I'm noticing that I'm doing less. Well, there's other ways to be social. You could go out on hikes. You could go to church, temple. You could do pickleball. You could do, and I don't want to start, being a senior citizen before I'm a senior citizen. But I learn a lot from my senior citizen friends who are a lot more active and are starting to increase being social. It's interesting. The social pendulum, it's almost U-shaped. You're very, very social when you're younger because you have to be. You're in school. There's always everybody around. And then you start getting in with your family and you start connecting to your family. And you start taking care of your kids. And then you start getting exhausted. And so it's about, well, I rarely see my spouse. I rarely see my kids. I want to spend time with the kids. We're going to do something with the kids. We'll see some friends, but those start to kind of go by the wayside. And then I go to bed. And then you start to lose a lot of, connections. I have some friends where I haven't seen them in 2 years now. Now, we could still pick up the phone and be as close as ever. But really, I used to see you every weekend. And now it's been 2 years? Really? That long? Also, I'm noticing that I'm starting to change my mind about just seeing people on the weekends. There's not enough weekends. I have a really, really good friend of mine I've been friends with since college. And we have been trying to, since September, find a night where the couples, we could go to dinner. And here we are, right, January, still can't find a time because we're only looking at the weekends. Well, then, why don't we pick a day in the week? Oh, well, I go to bed early and, we're come on, man. And so you need to put some work into not being socially isolated. And I think dementia cases are going to be on the rise. One, because we're eating so much crap. And two, because a lot of us are starting to prefer, you know what, I want to binge The Pit. Or I want to binge a show. In fact, it's interesting. My son told me to watch this James Franco show. I think it came out a few years ago. It's called 11/22/63. The day John F. Kennedy was shot. And it's a good show. And so I start watching it. And I cannot wait to get home to watch the next episode. Come on, man. It's a Friday night. I should be going out. I should be partying. And so I'm noticing that I'm starting to look forward to cuddling up on the couch with my blankie. I still have Christmas lights on in the house. Right? With the dogs. Hanging out with the kids. And that's okay. But you got to be social. A lot of us don't use hearing aids. They're too expensive. Fascinatingly, our AirPods and a lot of our Apple equipment can, I think, double now to help amplify hearing. But if I don't hear what my husband's telling me, I'm like, what? And I'm like, whatever. And, well, then I'm missing out on that exchange, that conversation. I'm not putting things to memory. Same thing with visual aids. So to prevent dementia, you got to get out there, and even take a class. If you don't use it, you lose it. Take a cooking class. Take a language class. You don't have to stress about exams. Who cares if you fail? There's a lot of free classes out there, too, if you don't want to spend college prices. But take a class, learn something. I am blown away with YouTube and what they are teaching. I never got to learn guitar. I never had money for lessons. I want to learn how to play guitar. And I think that's also going to stave off dementia. Eat right. Make sure you have your blood pressure in good control, your sugar in good control, your cholesterol in good control, sleep well, exercise, stay active, get some sunlight. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regenerations. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
We are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. It just, it's fascinating how in the second administration of Trump, the amount of news we get, the amount of things that come up to talk about that you would have never even thought to could happen. You could make you can't even make a movie of all this. So the Nobel Peace Prize laureates or the Nobel Peace Prize, I guess, rule makers or whoever decides, the judges, decided that Trump's work was not worthy. With him stopping wars and Middle East peace and what he's done. Nobel Peace Prize said, no, we don't feel that he deserves it. And it was a slap in the face. But they gave it to, and I believe she was worthy. I think Trump was worthy, but also she was worthy. Maria Corina Machado, they gave it to her, opposition leader of the Venezuelan regime that now has been dealt with by Trump. And what Machado did was, as soon as she won, she was like, I shouldn't have won this. Trump should have. They should have gone to Trump, which was very political, very, shall we say, that was pretty savvy if she wanted to get in good with President Trump. And in fact, she actually brought her Nobel Peace Prize and gave it to him and honored him with the Nobel Peace Prize. Something you've never seen this happen. This is historic. If I was President Trump, though, I would have told her she didn't have to do that. I would have early on said no. And I know he accepted it, and this, how could he say no if she's coming to the White House and all that? And he even said it was a beautiful gesture. But as far as I'm concerned, I would say, look, if the Nobel Peace Prize doesn't want to honor me, and they don't think what I did was peace worthy, then I don't want the award. I'm not going to beg. I'm not going to. But somehow Trump has kind of made it known that he really, really wants a Nobel Peace Prize. He's brought it up. Benjamin Netanyahu said he was going to nominate him. We know he wanted this. Why? Why did Trump want the Nobel Peace Prize? Because as I've said before, I think he's really, really upset that a lot of the work he did, like the Abraham Accords, which is huge what the Abraham Accords did in the Middle East. Nobody's remembering. Nobody's talking about it. I don't even think it's on Wikipedia. And so Now, he's looking at how people tried to wash from the internet his presidency of 4 years. And so it's really difficult to erase him out of history if you have all these other entities that have to list their winners, now he can't win an Olympic medal, but he could host the Olympics. He can, and so he doesn't want to be erased from history. And I think he was blown away at how quickly, when a new president comes in, how things could be just completely changed and he lose credit for some of the things he's done. That's why we're seeing these Trump accounts where, he's putting in $1,000 for every kid, American citizen, I believe, or American, who is legally here, born between now and the end of his term. They now have this $1,000 that's going to build up in a college or retirement account. They're called Trump accounts. Now, if he does acquire Greenland, I wouldn't be surprised if he calls it Trump land. But I think what he wants to do is not let him and his legacy get erased. And I think a lot of us can agree he's doing some amazing things. I mean, if he could get drug prices down, if he could get the border secure, I mean, if he could get, these cartel, vicious fascists removed from, the mayhem and the death and the destruction, like if he could get Hamas out of Gaza, and he's got Machado out of, the Venezuelan leader, getting him. I mean, for him to be Maduro, if he's able to do that, he's doing some great things. And so I think he wanted the Nobel Peace Prize because that's on a list in perpetuity. And Nobel Peace Prize doesn't want to give it to him. So here is Miss Machado bringing it to him and giving him hers, which is very historical. And he graciously accepted. I would have, when she first said it, when she first offered it, I would have, if I was President Trump, saying, look, you are deserving. This is yours. This is your moment. Thank you. I'm honored that you want to give it to me, but you don't have to. This is your moment. We honor you. Congratulations. And leave it at that. But she came, she offered her Nobel Peace Prize. Is she doing it because she wants to be the new leader? Does she want him to have her now lead where Maduro left off? And he said he was kind of worried about if she has the infrastructure and the support, to make her successful, because he does not want to, again, now this is on him. So what happens in Venezuela will now affect his legacy. So he wants to ensure that whatever happens is going to be successful and that he's going to be making Venezuela great again. And then who knows, he's going to probably want to make Colombia great again and Gaza great again. And so I think he's going to be very, very picky about how something like this happens. So I don't know. I just think with the Nobel Peace Prize, it is very political. We know. I remember when Obama got it. We were early on in our show years ago, and Obama was awarded it. And the first thing I had said was, "What did I miss?" I mean, was there something he had done in his first week of presidency that I want to give him props, because wow, if you got the Nobel Peace Prize, there must have been something huge that just happened in the geopolitical world and foreign policy. And Nobel Peace Prize is to honor the people they want to honor. And I do believe the opposition leader of Venezuela was deserving, but I believe Trump was deserving. But the Nobel judges didn't want to give it to him. And so when she did say she's giving his award to them, the Nobel, I guess the Nobel laureates or whoever is in charge of the Nobel Prize, quickly put out a statement saying you can't gift it. You can't. I mean, it could be inherited. The award and the accolades could be inherited by your family, but you can't give it to another entity. You can't transfer your Nobel Peace Prize. And I actually get that. It's like if I give you an Olympic medal, if I'm, the Olympic Committee, I give you an Olympic medal and you say, I think in history, my neighbor deserves to now be the Olympic gold medalist in figure skating. I get that. You could give somebody the medal as a gift, But to say they are technically the Olympic gold medalist winner, that's only a distinction the Olympics could give. So I get that. It's just, I don't understand why there's so much hate for Trump. I mean, it's like anything he does, even if it's good, it just everything. It's just, he's this, he's Nazi, he's this, and here he is, and he's, I hope he's able to keep peace in the Middle East, but we'll see what happens with Iran. Now you have Iran this is a very pivotal moment, for the horrible Iran regime to go. For Middle East, Iran wanted to kill Trump. Iran wants to annihilate Israel. Iran can very easily, in a moment's notice, pull the whole Middle East into a war. And here we have a very pivotal moment where people are fighting and standing up. Sadly, tens of thousands of people are dying. And I don't understand where all the American protests are. There are all these protests for those in Gaza, where in anti-Israel. Where's the protests for all these thousands of people that we're seeing the body bags? We're seeing them on TV. Where's all the protests now? Just radio silence. Nobody's saying anything because it's not Israel. Come on. It really drives me crazy how the narrative is always so one-sided. If somebody is deserving of an award, they're deserving, right? But that's how I feel about the whole Nobel Peace Prize. 1-877 Doc Dolly. Don't go away.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit, and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So the FBI is offering a $100,000 reward for information after a destructive anti-ICE mob vandalized and spray-painted graffiti on several federal immigration enforcement vehicles in Minneapolis. Apparently, they lifted some property from these guns. They broke into them, they wrecked them, they defaced them, and they stole items, including armor, I believe. And I don't want to read some of the stuff that they wrote. There was some pretty bad stuff. I'm not going to. Let's just say there was some F words. They also said to hang Christy Nome. That was written on one of these. Only good agent is a dead one. That's okay. This is how scary some people are. I mean, this isn't peaceful protest. I mean, if you want illegal immigrants here or those with criminal backgrounds here, you can protest that. That's your American right. You can't sit there and call for the death and the destruction and call for criminal actions to be done against federal officers, and you can't destroy property. I mean, these are things that, oh. So anyway, seeing some of the things that have gone on, President Trump has threatened to invoke the Insurrection Act. So there would be military forces protecting, the neighborhoods, protecting the ICE agents, allowing them to do their work. But when you look at this and you don't see the mayor and you don't see the governor, speak up when their whole narrative is ICE is causing there to be danger and mayhem and chaos. Look, peaceful protests can be very easily organized and nurtured by a mayor and governor. But this is, you know what? We're going to tell the police to step down. We're not going to just let everybody do what they need to ICE agents. I think that's criminal. And I'm wondering if the mayor and the governor need to be up on charges, being accomplices to this. If you know that your constituents are causing, and you've incited them to get out there and make noise and using expletives, and they end up hurting and causing destruction of damage, and it's also interfering with other neighborhoods that are just trying to go about their day, without running into any, Trenderagua or any raid or anything else. They need to be liable. So the Insurrection Act allows the president to deploy military or federalized soldiers to quell, rebellion and to bring peace and stability to an area. And Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey is blaming the federal officers for causing this turmoil. If you're really, really worried about there being turmoil, bring all your protesters. Say, guys, this is where you'll be able to do your free speech protesting. We have blocks and blocks and blocks. We'll expand the blocks for you. We'll keep you safe. But don't leave that area because there's cars, there's operations. You could get hurt. I mean, if Mayor Frey really, really is worried about people getting hurt, then let's have you guys protest in a nice, safe area. Because if ICE, according to Mayor Frey, is assassinating random people for the fun of it, then don't you want to allow there to be a separation? But instead, they want the protesters to go up to the officers' faces and up to their vehicles. Come on. All right. It's ridiculous. So anyway, if you know who did vandalize and littered and stole things, smashing windows and stealing items from an FBI vehicle, FBI is offering $100,000. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So a lot of people are excited about being able to test for STDs in the privacy of their own home. And it's been something that has been advocated for a long time, but there's been some obstacles. And the reason why is if you have a sexually transmitted disease, a communicable disease, there are certain reportable diseases. So if you, let's say, get Giardia, you get gonorrhea, you get E. coli from a restaurant, the medical provider has to report it. They have to test it, confirm it, and then report it, so that the CDC could investigate where the outbreak is coming from and try to help curb the outbreak. And then we test you for cure. Not everybody's been doing that, but how I was trained to do that so that you're good, that you don't have E. coli in your system anymore, you don't have the gonorrhea or chlamydia, your HIV is under control, where you have regular follow-up. Well, people have been trying to use telemedicine to treat their STIs and their STDs. And telemedicine doctors have been kind of at a loss. They're like, but we have to diagnose you first. Well, I think I have chlamydia, so can you just treat me for that? And the doctor can't, because if we're going to be treating an STI, we also need to screen you for other STIs. I mean, if you got chlamydia or gonorrhea because you had unprotected sex, then you also were probably exposed to HIV or hepatitis or trichomoniasis. So whenever somebody is being evaluated for an STI, we offer the panel, because if you had unprotected sex, and you could have gotten one STI, could you have gotten something else also? But unfortunately, many people don't have the money. They have Obamacare plans, whatever, and they aren't getting tested. And so, or they're calling up telemedicine saying, yeah, I got burning when I pee, I need an antibiotic. And many telemedicine companies will not treat a man for a UTI because it might not be a UTI, it might be an STI. And so we have to send you to urgent care. So people are looking for a cheaper, less invasive way to get screened. So apparently there are now new options to test at home. The FDA has approved the first at-home test that could detect 3 common infections. However, this is for women: gonorrhea, chlamydia, and trichomoniasis. It is the first home-based kit that can also test for we also have a home-based kit for HPV, for cervical cancer. Now, this won't tell you if you have cervical cancer, but it'll tell you if you've been exposed to HPV. So the agency also has approved more drugs for gonorrhea now that we have high drug resistance for medications for gonorrhea. So something like this is definitely helpful, but it's not free. It's not cheap. The test costs $150. Testing company Visby Medical launched its 3-in-1 test for women last year. It got FDA approval in last March. The test includes a vaginal testing swab and a small testing device. After uploading a photo of the device, users can review the results on a mobile app. The test costs $150. It does come with a telehealth consultation because you still need a doctor to report it, give antibiotics, and do follow-up. They say the entire process from buying the test to getting a prescription can take as little as 6 hours, compared to several days under the traditional testing model, according to Dr. Gary Skolnick, Visby's chief medical officer. So the only thing is it's not 100% because your cervix, chlamydia is intracellular. So I can't just swab discharge. I have to get some cells of the cervix. So when we would swab, and I understand some testing can pick it up in the urine and things like that, but my worry is if you have a negative test, does that mean you're in the clear? Well, if you haven't had a cervical swab, we could be missing things. And so if people aren't swabbing their cervix, they're only sticking the applicator into the vagina area, they could be missing some of the samples. That was the issue we were having with COVID testing. People would say, oh yeah, my COVID test is negative. And I'm like, well, did you really get up in there? Did you twirl it as many times? Did you get some cells? I just stuck it in my nose. So I love the idea that we're able to do more at home to be able to figure out what we have, but still, we could still be having some false negatives. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, don't go away.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.